Folks, you're going to need to take out the homework that's due today. Pages 4 and 5 in your packet. You will also need your pencil, your calculator, and your Chromebook. Remember, anything you wrote down on your homework, you can use on today's quiz.
Physically right now, am I gonna miss anything?
If you make a pass to it, sorry. Well, you might miss going over the homework. Do you want to wait until after we've gone over the homework and taken the quiz to go? Okay, you're welcome. The quiz right here is on 1B, sig figs. Tomorrow's quiz is on what we're doing today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I need to come around and check your packet to make sure that those 2 homework pages on significant figures are done. Don't start the quiz yet. You want to wait until I've gone over the homework to make sure that you know what you're doing, okay? So please have your homework out in front of you. Pages 4 and 5. Thank you. Thank you. But did you watch the video that I posted? Okay, then you should be all set. All right, we are not working on the quiz right now. Where's your homework? I know, but we're going over it. You can't go over it if it's not in front of you. Right? It says go over homework up on the screen. Go over it. So you need it out in front of you, along with your pencil and your calculator. We will use your Chromebook in a minute for the quiz. Okay, let's check the answers starting on page 4. You want to make sure you know what you're doing before I give you a quiz on this, right? Give you a chance to ask some questions if you have them. All right, on page 4, number 1 is 2, number 2 is 3, 3 is 6, 4 is 4, 5 is 4, 6 is 7, 7 is 9, 8 is 1, 9 is 3, 10 is 6. Do you have any questions on page 4? All right, page 5. I'm just going to give you the final answers, not the calculator answer, just the final. Number 1 is 26.3 centimeters. Number 2A is 2.5 grams. 2B is 475 meters. 3A is 3.0 times 10 to the 2 centimeters squared. 3B is 13.6 kilometers squared. 4A is 2.3 centimeters per second. 4B is 0.253 centimeters per second or 0.253 centimeters per second. Number 5A is 34.7 meters. 5B is 25.815 meters. C is 46.03 centimeters squared. D is 3.1 kilograms. Number 6A is 7.4 millimeters. B is 49.6 meters squared. C is 70.4 kilograms. And 7 is 69.2 square meters. All right, any questions on this page? No? All right, you can have those 2 pages out in front of you to help you. Whatever you wrote down, go ahead, take your quiz on your Chromebook now. You will need your calculator to help you do the calculations to get the final calculator answers. Good luck, I'll give you a couple minutes. No talking, the quizzes are out for you to complete now, and when you complete the quiz, put your Chromebook away. Again, when you're done with the quiz, please put your Chromebook away. Keep the other items out on your desk. Okay, I need to approve it on your computer. Let me try to pass. Go ahead and get your camera back to make your pass. Beautiful. Okay, read what it says right there. The homework is. You know which problems I want you to do yet? Okay, then you can't be working on it. Try not to. All right, today's lesson is all about scientific notation. It's all about how to use your calculator. Okay, it's all about how to use your calculator. So everyone needs their scientific or graphing calculator out in front of them, and it needs to be turned on, so that way I can tell you what buttons you're typing in. Most of you have not been taught how to use the calculator the way it was designed by the engineers who programmed it. So that's my job. If you don't use those buttons that the engineers want you to use, you will not get the correct answers, particularly with some of the calculations that we do this year. So I want to make sure that you're good. As soon as she's back, I'll put you.
I ordered my calculator.
Good.
Got the link to my-
Okay.
Can I borrow one?
Yes, you can borrow one for today. Let me just make sure it's in the right one. So you're going to learn how to use this one, but I don't know what kind I'm getting for Monday. So it may be, in which case I'm going to show the class how to use two different types of calculators. So everybody has a scientific calculator out in front of them or the graphing calculator. Today's lesson is about scientific notation. I'm going to ask you to do some calculator practice for homework. I think there's 2 and 4, 6 questions total. I'll ask you to just practice to make sure you are confident that you know how to type things in correctly for tomorrow. So that way tomorrow's quiz should be a snap. All right, these are the things I expect you to be able to do. Again, you don't have to write down the objectives. This is just my way of communicating to you what I'll be quizzing you on tomorrow. First, you have to be able to take a measurement that is not in scientific notation and write it in scientific notation and vice versa. Now, your calculator will do all of that for you. So you don't have to know how to do it. Your calculator will do it for you if you know which keys to press. Then, with the numbers in scientific notation, we need to be able to add, subtract, multiply, and divide them. Okay? You need to be able to add, subtract, multiply, and divide measurements in scientific notation. So that is the second piece of the lesson. We are first going to learn how to get numbers into scientific notation on our calculator, and then we'll learn how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Okay? And again, it's just the calculator steps. So first of all, what is scientific notation? We saw this a little bit the other day, that it's a shortened way that allows us to write really big and really small numbers. And when I talk about really big and really small numbers, I'm talking about things like the mass of the Earth or the mass of an electron. So let me show you what these are without scientific notation. If I look at the mass of Earth, which was determined back in the 1700s, they did not put the Earth on a triple beam balance and mass it. That would be absolutely ridiculous. They did it using calculations and understanding what gravity is. But we have learned that the mass of the Earth is approximately this number. There are 22 zeros after the 8. That is the one and only time I will ever write that number like that. You'll never see me write it like that again in this class this year. I show it once a year and that's it. Instead, what we do is we write it in scientific notation and it looks like this: 5.98 times 10 to the 24th kilograms. That is much easier to write. We just now need to know, how do we do this on our calculators? How do we input a number like that and work with it? And we're going to work with that number all year long, all the time. The second thing, or small number, let's go back to the small number. I mentioned that the smallest mass we're going to work with is an electron's mass. You know what an electron is. It's the smallest subatomic particle in an atom. The mass of an electron is this. Ran out of room. Those last three digits are 911 kilograms. There are 30 zeros between the decimal point and that 9, 30 of them. If I left one off, I just made the electron 10 times more massive than it really is, and that's a problem. So instead, we write it like this. In physics, we deal with really big things and really little things. Very rarely do we have things in between. So that is why we're going to be using scientific notation. Okay. Yeah, it also helps us with sig fig problems when we get there, but it's really about, because of the scale, the size of things are really big and really small. So what we do in scientific notation is we are expressing where the decimal point is as a power of 10. So how do we put these numbers into scientific notation? I'll show you, and then we're going to do it on the calculator. Make sure you can do it yourself, because the calculator does all of this for you. You don't even really have to understand how it works. So how do you do this? Basically what we do is we take the numerical part of the measurement, which in the case of the Earth is this right here, the non-zero part of the measurement, 598. We take that, we write it as something between 1 and 10, which would be 5.98. And then we multiply it by a whole number power of 10, which tells us how many times we have to move the decimal point to get it between those two digits there, the 5 and the 9. All the powers of 10 are whole numbers. So it always takes the form of m times 10 to the nth power, where m, your coefficient, this is what we call the coefficient, the number out front, must be between 1 and 10. And then n, after the 10, that little exponent, represents, it's always an integer, and it always represents how many times the decimal point has been moved. Okay. Now, you ready for the calculator piece of things? I'm going to erase the board. And I know we have two different types of calculators in this course. We have our graphing calculators like the TI-83 or 84 plus. And then we have our scientific calculators, which are like this, the TI-30X. So I'm going to show you how to use both of these. If you have a Casio, I can't help you. I don't have a Casio to know how it works. You may have to YouTube this to figure out how it works on your calculator. What I'd like to do is shift over to my document camera so I can show you what keys you're going to hit, and then you may want to make a couple of notes in your notebook. Usually the question I'm going to get asked tomorrow is, how do I type that into my calculator again? And my question will be, what did you write down in your notebook? You didn't write down what keys to type in. I'm not surprised you don't remember. Okay, I want you to write it down so you remember. Okay, so let's go to our calculator. Let's start with this type. How many of you have this type of calculator? Scientific display. Wait, no, I know you have one because I just gave you one. And you have one as well. Anyone else? Okay, so let's look at how we do this. The first thing we have to do is we have to put our calculator into the scientific mode. There's a scientific mode on these calculators. To get to the scientific mode, it's above this key here. You see it's in yellow on mine, SCI. That's where I need to hit. So I'm going to click the second button first. Please do that on your calculator. Second, and then click this key. You'll then see this on your display. You doing that with me now? Same thing. Second, and then the DRG key. Now, it gives you three options. Flow. By the way, I'm showing everybody this because even if you don't have this calculator right now, if your calculator dies during a test and you need a substitute, this is the kind I'm giving you. So you want to pay attention as to how to do it on this calculator also, okay? We now need to arrow over to Psi, but let me explain what this is because you'll go back and forth between them. Flow stands for floating point notation, where the number is written just normal with a decimal point and all the zeros. Psi stands for scientific notation, which is what we're learning how to do now, and ENG stands for engineering notation, which refers to a way to write a number with a fixed number of decimal places. So we're going to arrow over to Psi and hit enter. And as soon as you do that on this type of calculator, do you see what's on the bottom of the display? It says SCI. You should now see that you are in the scientific mode. That's the first step. We're going to do the same thing on those graphing calculators that the rest of you have. So what I'd like you all to do on the graphing calculator is click your mode button, please. And you'll see that in the first row, there are three options: normal, Psi, and ENG. I'd like you to arrow over to Psi. Normal is the floating point notation. Hit the mode button and arrow over to Psi. Normal is without the power of 10. Psi is with the powers of 10. Scientific notation, and there's our engineering notation that we will not use. Hit enter so it's selected, and then clear your screen. Unlike the scientific calculator, there is no visual display here, no visual confirmation that that's the mode you're in. If you want to know what mode you're in, you have to hit the mode button. Okay, now here's what I'd like us to do. We're going to do two examples to see how the calculator puts it in scientific notation for you. We're going to do it on both of those. So the first number I want you to type in is the number 3 million. Just type in 3 million on your calculator like usual, please. 3 million. And I'm going to do that over here. 3 followed by 6 zeros. Okay, hit enter. And look at how each calculator displays it in scientific notation. The graphing calculator uses something called E notation. E notation, the E stands for something. It's an abbreviation for something. We'll look at what that is in a minute. The scientific calculator, you see on the display, it says 3, and then very little here, it says times 10, and then it says 0.6. The 0.6 is the power. It always shows 2 digits for the power, so it's just 6. 3 times 10 to the 6. It shows you the times 10. This calculator doesn't show you the times 10. It uses what's called E notation, and that's how the programmers expect you to type it in using E notation. So 3E6, this is your coefficient. The E stands for times 10, and then that 6 is the power of 10. So this, when you write it down on your answer paper, you're not going to write 3E6. You're not a computer. You're going to write 3 times 10 to the 6. You need to know that these calculators are showing an E on the display to represent the times 10. The times 10 is the E. The times 10 is the E. Now let's try another one. Are you all seeing this on your display when you type that? Okay, type in 0.000003. 0.000003. Hit enter on both of mine, and you can see now it's telling me that that is 3 times 10 to the negative 6th power. 3 times 10 to the negative 6th power. Do you see that on yours? Now, if I don't want the calculator to show me an answer in scientific notation, what would I have to do? Change the mode back. Just put the mode back, and you know how to do that with those arrow keys. So what we see here, those are those powers of 10. So the rule, the kind of the pattern we see is that if I'm dealing with numbers that are larger than 1, I'm going to have a positive power of 10. If I have a number that is smaller than 1, it's going to be a negative power of 10. It doesn't mean the measurement is negative. It just means it's small. And as we just said, your calculator will put them in scientific mode for you using the scientific mode. It will take these numbers that are not in scientific notation, which we call floating point notation, and it will put them in scientific notation for you if you have it in the Sci mode. It will do it automatically. Okay. All right, so now we know how to put numbers into our calculator and get them out in scientific notation. But what if I give you a measurement that's in scientific notation? You need to know how to type it in scientific notation the way the calculator expects to see it. And I know in math class, they often have you type 3 times 10, and then you put a caret with a 6. That's not going to work here. Because those numbers that they're giving you are standalone measurements. We do manipulations with those measurements. You'll end up with the correct answer maybe 50% of the time, if that's how you want to type it in. How many of you like being right 50% of the time? Yeah, I didn't think so. We don't want to be right half the time. I want to be right all the time if I can be, as close to that. So that means we need to understand how to now type this stuff into your calculator to get the right answer out every time. And it's going to use this E notation on your calculator. Okay? So let me show you where that is on your calculators. It's in different places. Here's what I want you to do. Can you please put your calculators back into normal mode or floating point mode? All right, so let me show you how we do this and the keys that you have to type or hit. So if I want to put the number 3 million in scientific notation, which is 3 times 10 to the 6, here's how I do it. I have to find the E. And on your keypad, it doesn't actually show it as an E. It shows it as a double E. I don't know why they're not consistent. It's a double E. Do you see a double E anywhere on your keypads? Capital double E? Okay. On the graphing calculator, it's above the comma. On the scientific calculator, it's above the x to the -1. So how do you get that double E? You have to use your second button first. Okay? So here's what I want us to do. If I want to type in 3 times 10 to the 6, the way the calculator expects it, I have to see on my display 3E6. That's what I need to see on the display. So to do that on this calculator, I would type 3 and then second comma. Notice I do that once and there's my E, just like I have here. And then follow it with the power of 10, -6. And notice when I hit, whoops, 3E6. I hit enter and there's my 3 million. Did you do that? Double check that's what you get on this calculator. On this one, I do 3 second x to the -1, 6. Hit enter and there's my 3 million. That's making sure you know how to type it in properly. So let's just review what we said. First of all, when we want to get answers in scientific notation, we need to use the Sci mode to get our answers in scientific notation. But if I want to type on a graphing calculator, if I want to input it, I type the coefficient first, like 3, and then I do the second, and then the comma, and then the 6. And this will show me on the display 3E6. If I do it on the scientific calculator, I would type 3 and hit the second button, and then the x to the negative 1, followed by the 6, and then my display would show 3e6 again, which is 3 times 10 to the 6th power. That's how I type it in. I type the 3. Remember, that is your E, followed by the 6. I should never, ever, ever see times 10 caret on your computer, on your display. If you do that, your answers will be wrong. And your calculator may say error. It might not, or your answer will just be wrong. Okay? So let's practice an example. Put your calculator back in scientific mode, please. Back in scientific mode. I want you to try this. Remember, you're going to use your double E. We want to see the E on the display once. I want you to try adding these two scientific notation measurements. 2.03 times 10 to the 2nd power meters plus 1.057 times 10 to the 3 meters. Don't hit enter yet. Just type it in on your calculator display the way you think it should be typed. And then we'll check that your display looks correct. Okay, everybody have that typed in on their calculator display? It should look like this. Both calculators, it should look exactly like that. 2.03 E2 plus 1.057 E3. This is the first measurement. That's the second measurement. Do you see a times 10 and a caret anywhere? No. Now, when I hit enter, because I'm in the scientific mode, go ahead, hit enter. Tell me what the answer is in scientific notation. Oh. That's it, 1.263. Now, you're not going to write that on your paper. What are you going to write on your paper? Yeah, 1.26 times 10 to the 3rd power. And that would be your answer. Okay? Anybody having difficulty getting that on their calculator? Because if you are not getting that on your calculator, I need to help you now. So how do you get the E's? Yeah, 1.26 times 10 to the 3rd. Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. Well, your calculator won't show you the E, remember, because it's a scientific one. If you had a graphing one, it would show you the E. Okay, so let's then go to your packet, and let's try some of this together. I want to make sure you can do these on your own. Put your calculator in the scientific mode, and I'm going to tell you which ones I want you to try in class now. These are not homework. This is in classwork. And when we're done, I'll tell you which ones I want you to do for homework. Okay, can everybody please turn to page 6? Page 6. On page 6, I want you to do 1B and 2B. 1B and 2B on page 6. And then I'm going to give you 4 more on the next page. Please turn the page. On page 7, I would like you to do 1B and D. B and D. And then number 2, B and D. Okay, go ahead and give those a try right now. All answers should be in scientific notation. All right, let's make sure you know how to type these in correctly. Type them in, get the answers in scientific notation. One more minute. Okay, we ready to check them out? Okay, let's start here on page 6. Number 1B is 5.601 times 10 to the third power. If you got that correct, give yourself a star, please. And number 2B, you should have written as 8.64 times 10 to the fourth power seconds. You got that right, give yourself a star. How many of you got both of those right? Good. Okay, let's go to the next page. All right, 1B is 7.15 times 10 to the negative 2 power. If you got that right, give yourself a star. Oh, it froze. I'm sorry. 7.15 times 10 to the negative 2 power. D is 3.51 times 10 to the second power. Number 2B is 9 times 10 to the first power. You got it right, give yourself a star. And 2D is 6.5 times 10 to the negative 1 power. How many of you got all 4 of those right? Anyone need help with any of those? You're not getting the right answer. Which one? Sure, 1D is 3.51 times 10 to the second power. Okay, let me tell you which ones then you're going to do for homework. Go back to page 6. Let's circle these. On page 6, I would like you to do number 1, F and G only. F and G. Then on page 7, I would like you to do 1A, 1 2E, 2A, and 2E. That's it. All right? That's for tomorrow. 1A and E, 2A and E. Everything in scientific notation, okay? We'll check them out before we take a quiz on this tomorrow. So make sure you have your scientific or graphing calculator here so you follow calculator work. No, just these two on page 6. That's it. So you have a total of 6 questions.